welcome back to Baking with Ginny and Joe. I'm Ginny and today I'm going to show you how to make this chocolate Connors rolled buttercream. So I have got the regular rolled buttercream tutorial, which if you look up here, you can see the little link to that up there. Have a little look at that if you just want to do the basic regular one without the chocolate. So we're going to go straight in today with this chocolate and it is absolutely gorgeous. Let's go. Right, so to make Connor's version, we need to bring the butter to Connor's stage. So that is under 30 degrees, and that is so important. We need to do that in stages. We are going to go in for the first 15 seconds, then we're going to go in 5 or 10 second increments until we get up to anything between 28 and 30 degrees Celsius, which is 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's start. Okay, as you can see there, that's beginning to melt. Still not quite there. We've still got quite a large amount of lumps and it's still very creamy looking, and that's what we're looking for. We don't want it to split. That's nearly ready, so I'm going to go 5 seconds now. And that is very, very close. Right, let's take this temperature, and that temperature is 28.8. So I'm really happy with that, and I'm just going to leave that alone. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my syrups. So into this, I've got my liquid glucose, my golden syrup, the glycerin, and my vanilla. So I'm going to put this in for 5 seconds just to help liquefy it a little bit. Okay, so that's a little bit runnier. We just take its temperature. Okay, so that's at 31 degrees now. So we need to be very careful what temperature this one is at, and that's at 28. So we know if we merge those two together, that's 1 degree under, that's 1 degree over. It's not going to take it over that 30, which means then it's not going to split. There we go. And then also on top of that, I'm going to add in my melted chocolate. Right, there we are. So we're going to give those a mix up. Don't worry about those little lumps of butter. And we've added all the wet ingredients in together. Okay, so now we're going to add our dry ingredients here. Now I'm using cocoa powder here. Add that in first. Let's stir that in. And now we know all we need now is icing sugar. We're going to pour in some of this icing sugar and we're just going to stir that in. Now as it starts to get thicker, I like to just go in and use my hands like a claw because I find it's a lot easier. So I've got my gloves on and then in and spin, just like a claw, and this will come together so much quicker. A little bit more. Ooh, throwing it at myself. And then as soon as it becomes a texture where you can turn it out without it sticking to the unit, that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to tip mine now and let's just knead this in. It's not difficult. It should feel really light as it's coming through. Now I have 700 grams there of the icing sugar. We'll see how much of it we need or if I need to add more. But at the moment, you can see it's not particularly dry, but it is still a little bit sticky, so it needs more. The most important thing about rolled buttercream is to remember that even though we're using it like a fondant, it isn't actually fondant. So it does have different structure to it and it's worked with in a very different way. So I'm going to show you how to work around it. And once you learn the techniques and what it should be like, it is really simple, but you have to look at it as if it's not fondant. Right, you can see here, this is getting a lot drier. It's cracking a lot. So I'm going to move that to one side. There we go. So you see there, the icing sugar isn't going in as fast. So what we want to do is just get rid of this white kind of look, knead it away like bread, and you can see where it's crumbling and it's just falling off to the sides. So I want to show you how it looks. Let's just take a small amount. So you've got this effect here that looks fairly crumbly. I don't know if the cameras pick up, but there's a bit of a shine across it as well, but it's not sticky. See when I'm taking it off? Nothing's sticking there. When you move this in together like this and push in with your hands like this, and then you can rub it and look how beautiful that becomes in there. So even though it's got that crumbly kind of effect to it, when you work with the fats that are in there, you get this stunning shine across the top. Now, if you try to pick it up, it's not like fondant, it will crack. So we always have to have something underneath it. If it does start getting a little bit wet at any time, that's absolutely fine. Just add a little bit more icing sugar and let it take that in. Also, if you feel like you've added too much, you can just get a little bit of butter on your hands, rub it together, and then just knead it back in, and you'll put some of those fats back in again. Okay, so I'm going to just show you how we can work this round into something that looks really soft and smooth. Look at that. Beautiful. So that's our rolled buttercream. Now, I have put that on a cake, as you can see behind me just there, and I'm going to show you how to do that as well. So if you want to stay tuned, then I am just going to pop it onto a cake and show you the techniques on how to use this. So I'll see you in a bit. Begin with a hard cold base and then wrap your cake collar around. Cut down to make sure that those seams meet perfectly. Cut that away and then pop it back round again just to take the top part off so it all sits flush. Then what we're going to do is cut that circle in half and pop it to one side. Now it's time to knead our rolled buttercream. Once you've just kneaded it slightly, we're going to put it on one half of the cake collar. Now, don't roll this initially, just take bits and push them down, a bit like Play-Doh. I go back to being a child. So put this across the top, just like I'm doing here. Fit it all together, use the palm of your hand to squeeze it all in. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take some parchment paper. I'm going to put that across the top, and that is going to give a barrier between the two there. Now, can you see on the colour of the parchment? It's brilliant for using this because so long as there's no air pockets in it, you can see it's all the same thickness. So keep going until it rolls completely flush, and then look at that just there. It's so soft and smooth. Right, I've just taken a larger long piece and then I've got that acetate on the back, the cake collar, and I'm flipping it over so that I can see where the actual ridges of that cake are. Remove the excess. And then I'm just going to take a little cake scraper there, smoother I should say, and then roll across the top. Pull that acetate back there if you think there's any bits that are pulling, and just rub them. Now I'm completely happy. Take off the back of the parchment paper, pop that across the bottom and just smooth it out, always keeping the cake collar firmly on the back of it. Take a fondant scraper and we're just going to smooth that out. That will also push it slightly out of the sides as well. You just want to keep looking, make sure there's no real ridges in it. Now the reason here that we have done it half and half is because if we don't, it's very hard to line up the round circle and you won't get a perfect cake. Right, I've taken those edges off and then I'm just going in and doing the very same thing with the second part of that cake collar just there. So again, we're rolling down, we're going to remove the bits, and then we're going to line this up onto the cake, always keeping those back parts on. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to make sure that the air doesn't get to buttercream. You know, when you get buttercream and the air gets to it, it starts to crust and it can pull, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, mine's not quite meeting, but if you just use your hands to push, this really does go so well. It will meet up together there perfectly. So take your scraper again and then just force that round, making sure there's no air pockets. Everything just meets really nicely. Once you're happy, start to peel it back. We want to make sure that those joins come in together really nicely. If you have a problem peeling it back, just use your scraper just to get underneath, just to give you a bit of leverage. Now it will pull away from the cake, so be very, very careful. Now I'm just using my hands here with the gloves on, and I'm squeezing those two together like we did before when we made the rolled buttercream. You saw me squeeze the parts together. Now what this does is this activates those fats and it allows it to become really soft and smooth so that you can just rub across the top, and it doesn't give that crumbly effect that we can see when we play with it normally. Now I'm going up and up here. That's because there's some air pockets. You can see as I'm coming round, there are a few air pockets, and then just pushing up will take them off through the top. Anytime there's slight little tears, just squeeze together and then just buff that out. This rolled buttercream is absolutely excellent and really forgiving. So you see my seams there. I'm just working my way up through the seams. Now that top part, because it's been exposed and just there you can see it crumbling, which is fine. We're going to take that off with a knife. Excuse the large knife, not overly sure why it is that large. Okay, so across the bottom there I have got a little dent, so I'm showing you how easy it is just to patchwork this. Now imagine doing that with a fondant cake. You'd never be able to patchwork it. So we're just going to put that on there, remembering it's so much easier to use parchment. Parchment is your friend. It gives that safe barrier between the two, stops it tearing and pulling.
So pop your parchment over and rub, and look, when you pull that away, it's really coming together beautifully. So now what I'm doing is I've just put more parchment around the outside of the cake, and I'm just using the scraper to go all the way around and just get everything in there together. Okay, so now we're going to work on the top. I am just covering the sides over with some parchment. Again, I don't want it to dry out. So let's do the top, the very same as what we did before. I've got some parchment there, and I am just with Play-Doh again, making enough area to fill the top, using that rolling pin again and just pushing it around and then lifting it up and pop it across the top. So easy. Use that scraper and peel that off. It's so shiny across the top. Again, excuse the knife. Right, just cut down into it. And we're going to flip this and you're going to see how we're going to marry all that together. Keeping those sides covered so that it doesn't start to crumb. Hey, I did it. It came over fine. Use your fingers at the bottom there just to really lightly come across and push them together slightly, activate those fats. Then I use the scraper and I'm just coming around there. And you can see how beautifully shiny this is. We're going to peel that off. Now it is a little bit sticky to begin with, so I'm just patting some icing sugar between my hands. Don't use too much. If you use too much there, you are just going to make it snag. So I've used a little bit. It'll feel a little bit sandy under your hands, but that'll give you a base just to be able to smooth. And I'm telling you, with the gloves on, your hands are the best tool here. You can see as I'm going around how shiny and how perfect it's coming together. It really is beautiful. It's just learning those few techniques on how to use it. So I'm flipping it back over again. Just want to get right into that bottom part. You can see there that I needed to just buff that bit through again. Just buff it out, don't panic. Any problems, squeeze it together and just give it a buff. And then take your scraper and form that lovely sharp edge. We are done. Pop it in the fridge upside down.
Okay, so I took that out of the fridge and I flipped it back the other way and taken the top off, and look at that straight edge right across there, and it's absolutely flawless. Brilliant. So this rolled buttercream really is so simple to do and really easy to apply. So shall we cut it all the way down? Oh, look at that. I can try this, it's gluten free. So, oh my God, that is gorgeous. Chocolate cake recipe, pop it up there, as well as Connor's chocolate buttercream. Have a go at this. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'll see you really soon. Take care. Bye-bye.